They said the Queen of Zalara never slept. Not because she didn't want to, because she couldn't. Every night, when the moons of her crystal world rose and shimmered across the silver towers of her palace, Queen Liara stood alone by her window, her hands trembling against the glass. From below, her people sang her praises, calling her the unyielding, the eternal mind, the voice of order. But in the reflection, she only saw a woman who had lost something she couldn't name. And in the quiet corridors outside her chamber stood a single human guard, Elias Ward. He was an earthborn soldier, one of the few humans permitted in the royal guard of Zalara after the long and bloody human-Zalaran war. He stood in silence, every motion disciplined, every breath measured. But inside him lived a storm, a memory of the war and the guilt of what humans had done to her kind. Liara had once despised humans. They were chaos to her people's perfection, emotion to their logic, flame to their calm sea. Yet it was the humans who had saved her empire from a rebellion she couldn't control, and the one who stood outside her door, Elias, was the soldier who had risked his life for her crown. She had never thanked him. Not once. That night, however, something changed. The air trembled with an energy Elias could feel through his armor. The Queen's light, usually strong and serene, flickered faintly through the glass. Then the heavy door of her chamber opened with a soft hiss. Elias, she spoke. His name in her alien tongue sounded like music breaking under sorrow. Do you dream? The question startled him. He turned, helmet tucked under his arm. Sometimes, Your Majesty. What do you see? She asked. He hesitated. Things that never happened the way they should have. People I couldn't save. Liara lowered her gaze, the glow in her eyes dimming. Dreams, she whispered, are the price of feeling. My kind does not dream. Yet I envy the pain that gives birth to them. She stepped closer, and for the first time Elias saw the exhaustion in her, cracks beneath the perfection as if the light itself was breaking from within. I hear voices when I close my eyes, she confessed quietly, voices of those who died for me. My people believe it's only memory, residual thoughts of the fallen, but I know better. I feel them watching. Elias frowned gently. You think they're real? She met his gaze and something human flickered there, fear. I know they are. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien sky, scattering blue lightning through the crystal domes. Elias could see her trembling slightly, though she tried to hide it. Her bodyguard instincts urged him to step forward, but her rank chained him to stillness, until she said the words that changed everything. They call me immortal, Elias, but immortality is not life, it is a prison without end. And sometimes, her voice faltered, barely a breath, sometimes I think something inside me wants it to end. Silence fell between them, long, heavy, suffocating. The great Queen of Zalara had just confessed a thought forbidden in her empire. And now, only he knew. When Liara turned back to the window, Elias saw something glimmer in the reflection. Not a tear, for Zalarans could not cry, but a faint fracture of light running through her iris, like a crack in a diamond, a fracture that shouldn't exist. And though he didn't yet understand, Elias realized he had just witnessed the first sign of something impossible, something dangerous. The Queen's heart was breaking, and if the Zalaran High Council ever discovered it, they would destroy her to preserve their perfection. Only one man would stand between that fate and her secret, the human who once fought her kind, the guard who now swore to protect her, Elias Ward. Morning came like glass, bright, sharp, and fragile. The royal palace of Zalara shimmered in mirrored blues, its corridors humming with the silent rhythm of alien grace. But beneath the beauty, beneath the endless calm, something unseen stirred. Elias walked through those halls with steady steps, his armor polished, his face unreadable. Yet in his mind, the Queen's words from last night burned like coals. Sometimes I think something inside me wants it to end. He couldn't unhear it. And he couldn't forget the faint light fracture in her iris, the impossible sign of imperfection. As he approached the throne room, the sound of chanting Zalaran voices echoed like a haunting melody. Advisors in flowing crystal robes lined the hall, whispering to one another in tones that hid fear behind elegance. At the far end, on the elevated dais, Queen Liara sat motionless, radiant yet distant, her golden circlet gleaming faintly against the silver of her hair. Elias took his post by the great doors, yet his eyes lingered on her longer than they should have. Something was wrong. Liara's hands trembled ever so slightly when she addressed the council. Her voice, usually steady and commanding, carried a hollow echo, as if it were drifting from a place deep within her soul. "The border systems remain unstable," she declared. "Human fleets have withdrawn, but rebellion seeds linger. We must—" Her words broke only for a heartbeat, but it was enough. The council exchanged silent looks. One of them, Lord Vethor, stepped forward. His tone was smooth, respectful, yet cold.
"Your Majesty."
"Perhaps you should rest. Your recent strain may cloud your clarity." Elias clenched his jaw. "Cloud your clarity." A phrase that among Zalarans meant one thing. You are unfit. Liara's eyes flickered toward the Lord, her gaze sharp again, though her smile never touched her heart. "I will rest when the realm does," she replied softly. "Until then, clarity is my burden to bear." The council bowed. But Elias could sense the tension, suspicion, fear. The air tasted of it. When the session ended and the advisors departed, Liara descended the dais, her movements slower than usual. She stopped near Elias. "Walk with me." He followed her through the garden of mirrored leaves where alien birds shimmered like living prisms. For a moment silence fell between them, broken only by the crystalline rustle of the wind. "Do you know," she began quietly, "what it means for a queen to falter?" Elias shook his head. "It means her people unravel with her." She touched one of the glowing vines that curled around the walkway. "Our kind draws strength from the monarch's mind. If mine fractures, so will the unity of the Zelaran heart." Elias frowned. "Then why not tell someone?" The council could, she turned sharply, eyes glinting. "They would replace me." The words cut through the air like a blade. "I am not permitted to err," she continued, her voice trembling. "To feel pain, to doubt, to fear, those are forbidden traits, and yet, every day they grow louder in me." Her hand fell to her chest. "It started after the war. After the humans," Elias stopped walking. "After us?" Liara nodded slowly. "When I touched your kind's thoughts through the peace ceremony, when I saw the way you mourned your fall and how you loved even amidst ruin, it awakened something I do not understand. It cracked the silence inside me." Her words ached with sincerity. Elias took a quiet breath, lowering his voice. "Maybe that's not weakness. Maybe it's the part of you that's becoming human," she finished softly. He hesitated. "Maybe." A faint, sorrowful smile touched her lips. "Then that part of me will be hunted." Before Elias could respond, a shadow fell across the garden. A drone, sleek and black, descended silently from above, a messenger of the High Council. It stopped before her and projected a blue sigil in the air. "Order from the Council of Purity," the drone intoned. "All members of the Royal Guard to undergo neural scans for emotional contamination." Elias felt a chill crawl down his spine. "Contamination?" Liara's face paled, her expression freezing. The sigil hovered between them like a silent threat. The Council was searching for corruption of emotion, an infection of empathy. And if they found the truth, they would not only destroy her, they would destroy him too. The drone departed, leaving behind only silence. Liara turned toward Elias, her voice barely above a whisper. "You must tell no one what you saw in me last night. Not a word. Promise me." He met her eyes unwavering. "I promise, Your Majesty." And though he meant it with all his heart, Elias knew this was only the beginning of a secret that could destroy a kingdom. The nights on Zalara were longer now, or maybe time had begun to bend under the weight of silence. Elias stood outside the Queen's chamber again, his reflection faint in the shimmering glass walls. His armor gleamed in the soft violet moonlight, but inside his thoughts were restless, heavy. Since the council's decree, the palace had changed. Guards whispered when they thought no one listened. Advisors spoke in code, and every hall seemed colder, as though the palace itself sensed its ruler's hidden struggle. The Queen, however, carried her burden with a mask of radiance. Every gesture perfect, every word precise. Yet Elias saw through it, he always did. The way her fingers trembled before she raised her hand in greeting. The moments she blinked longer than normal, as if holding back tears she could never shed. He could feel her slipping. That night, When the great bells of the palace announced the hour of silence, Elias expected to stand his post as usual. But the door opened again, softly, deliberately. "Come in," Liara's voice called. Elias hesitated, then entered. The chamber was dimly lit, filled with the scent of glowing lilies that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. The queen stood before a grand mirror, its surface rippling faintly like water. "What is that?" Elias asked quietly. "A mind pool," she replied. "It allows me to look beyond thought, to see echoes of what my kind once was." She touched the mirror and an image rippled forth. Cities of light, oceans of crystal, a people who sang with one mind. But then the colors darkened, warped by a silent scream. He saw flames, human ships, burning skies, the war that had nearly ended them both. Liara withdrew her hand, breathing unevenly. "I have viewed this every night since peace was signed. I thought it would remind me of strength. But all I see now is pain." Her reflection shifted. Two Liaras standing face to face, one calm and regal, the other flickering with shadows across her eyes. "She speaks to me," Liara whispered, stepping closer to the glass. "The voice inside my reflection. She says things I dare not repeat." Elias moved forward, alarmed. "Your Majesty, you need to rest. Whatever this is, it's not real. It's the war haunting you." But Liara shook her head slowly. "No, it's more. I can feel her inside me like a second soul. She knows I'm afraid." Elias felt a chill crawl through him. "What does she say?" Liara's gaze met his through the glass. "That I betrayed them. That I betrayed myself when I chose peace." She turned sharply, her composure cracking for the first time. "Tell me, Elias, was peace worth it? Your people lost millions. Mine lost worlds. Did it change anything?" Elias took a long breath. "It changed me. I learned that pain can't be erased by victory, only by compassion." For a moment she just looked at him silently, searchingly. Then her voice softened. "And yet compassion is the very thing that's destroying me." Her hand reached for the mirror again, but this time the surface pulsed violently. The reflection's eyes glowed with dark light, and from the depths of the mirror came a whisper. Not in sound, but in thought. "You are not worthy of the crown, Liara. You let them live." "You let the humans breathe," Liara gasped, clutching her temples. Elias caught her before she fell, his arm steadying her trembling frame. The mirror flared once more, showing her reflection breaking apart into shards of light that spiraled upward like dying stars. When the light faded, silence reigned. Liara's breath came shallow, her voice weak. "She's growing stronger. The fracture. It's spreading." Elias laid her down gently, his voice calm, though his heart thundered. "We'll find a way. You're not alone in this." Her eyes fluttered open, meeting his. "No one must know, Elias. If they sense instability in my mind, they'll end me before dawn." He nodded, jaw set. "Then I'll keep watch. No one enters this room without my word." Her hand reached up, trembling, and brushed his wrist. It was a brief, fragile touch. Yet in it lived all the unspoken fear of a queen who could not weep, and a soldier who could not turn away. When she fell asleep, Elias turned to the shattered mirror. The reflection was gone, but deep within the glass, faint lines of shadow coiled like smoke. The queen's heart was breaking, literally fracturing into two, and something dark was beginning to whisper through the cracks. Elias whispered into the silence, more to himself than to anyone else. "I won't let them take her." He stood guard all night, eyes fixed on the mirror that no longer reflected light. By dawn, the palace of Zalara no longer shimmered. Its crystalline towers stood pale beneath a gray sky that had forgotten how to glow. The morning announcements echoed through the halls, formal words of peace and unity, but to Elias they sounded hollow. He hadn't slept. He hadn't dared to. All night the queen had stirred in restless dreams, whispering words that chilled him, names, pleas, fragments of memories that weren't hers, and through the mirror, the cursed mind pool, Elias had heard faint echoes. A woman's voice, distorted and venom-soft, calling itself the rightful queen. Now, as he watched Liara prepare for another council gathering, he noticed how her light flickered at the edges of her form. Zellarans were beings of energy and grace, each movement leaving traces of shimmering particles. But hers now danced in disarray, erratic and dim. "Your Majesty," Elias said quietly, helping her fasten the ceremonial crest upon her chest. If the council sees you like this, they won't, she interrupted. Her tone was steady, though her hands trembled. I will hold myself together. They must not know. He hesitated. Then what about the reflection? The other you? Liara paused, meeting his eyes. She is not me. She is everything I was forced to suppress. Fear, anger, longing. When your kind came, you awakened what we were told to bury. Her gaze drifted toward the window where the twin suns rose like pale fire. Do you know why my people forbid emotion, Elias? Because emotion is creation, and creation is chaos. It reshapes reality itself. Our ancestors locked those parts away inside our own minds. Elias frowned. And now that prison's breaking? Yes, she whispered. Because of you. The words struck deep, but not with accusation. There was pain in them and something fragile beneath it, like gratitude too frightened to be born. Before he could reply, the great doors opened. 2 council envoys entered, clad in robes of silver light. Your Majesty, one said, bowing. The scans begin today. Each guard, every servant, even those closest to you, must be examined. Elias stiffened. Including me? Especially you, the envoy replied coolly. You are human, emotionally unstable by nature. Liara's voice cut through the room, calm but sharp. Elias Ward will not be scanned without my authorization. The envoy blinked. Your Majesty, I said without my authorization, she repeated, and for an instant the walls trembled with her tone. The envoys bowed, retreating under the pressure of her presence. But as they turned, Elias caught the glance they exchanged, one that promised suspicion would follow. When they were gone, Liara exhaled slowly, shoulders sinking. They will not let it go. They already fear what they cannot name. Then we'll give them nothing to find, Elias said firmly. Liara looked up at him, studying his face. There was a quiet warmth in her eyes now, a dangerous warmth, one that her kind was forbidden to feel. You speak as though we are conspirators, Elias. Maybe we are, he answered softly. You against your reflection, me against a world that never wanted me here. We both fight shadows. Her lips parted slightly, half a smile, half sorrow. And when shadows win? Then we light a candle, he said simply. For the first time in days, a faint, genuine smile touched her face. But it vanished as quickly as it came, because the light in the room flickered, then died. The chamber fell into a hush so deep it seemed to swallow air itself. The mirror across the room pulsed faintly, black veins running through its glass like cracks in ice. Liara's eyes widened. No, not now. A voice seeped from the mirror, dark and melodic. He will betray you, Liara, just as the humans betrayed the stars. Elias drew his weapon, stepping between her and the reflection. Show yourself. The mirror's surface rippled. Out of it stepped a silhouette, her shape, her face, but her eyes burned with crimson light. Who are you? Elias demanded. I am what she hides. The shadow Liara whispered. The true queen, born of pain, denied her throne. Liara stumbled back, her hand trembling. No, you are my corruption, my weakness. The shadow smiled faintly. Weakness? No, Liara, I am your heart. The one you locked away when you chose peace with the humans. When you let them live. The words struck like a blow. Elias tightened his grip, his voice low. She didn't choose peace out of fear. She chose it out of hope. That's what makes her stronger than you'll ever be. The shadow's eyes shifted to him. Ah, the human. The spark that started her decay. She stepped closer and the room quaked. Cracks spread through the floor, light bleeding from beneath the tiles. You cannot protect her from herself. Her heart already belongs to the darkness she denies. Enough, Liara shouted. Light burst from her palms and the shadow shrieked, splintering back into the mirror. The glass shattered, sending shards of glowing dust swirling into the air. When silence returned, Liara collapsed. Elias caught her just before she fell, her pulse flickering weakly beneath his hand. Elias, she whispered faintly. If I lose to her, promise me, end it before she takes everything. He shook his head fiercely. No, I won't let that happen. I'll find a way to save you. Her eyes closed, and for the briefest moment he thought she smiled. Humans always believing they can save the impossible. As she slipped into unconsciousness, Elias held her close, his heart pounding with fear and resolve. The fracture had taken form. The war she fought was no longer with rebels or armies. It was with herself. And he was the only one left standing between her heart and the abyss. The palace had fallen into an uneasy quiet. No one dared to speak of the queen's sudden illness, nor the explosion that had shattered her private chamber. But whispers moved faster than light across Zalara's marble corridors. Servants said they'd heard her scream in a voice not her own. The High Council called it a minor energy fluctuation. Elias knew better. He had spent the past 2 nights by her side, tending to her as best he could. Liara's strength faded with each hour. Her glow dimmed like a dying star. Her body healed from the mirror's burst, but her mind was slipping. He could feel it. When he entered her chamber that morning, she sat upon the edge of her bed, wrapped in silken threads that caught the faintest shimmer of light. Her eyes, though beautiful as ever, no longer mirrored the calm of a queen. They reflected storms. "They're going to remove me," she said softly, not looking up. Elias froze. "What? The council knows. They can sense the imbalance. Their spies report that I falter, that my control is thinning." Her voice trembled slightly. "They've summoned the Purity Tribunal for tomorrow. If they find evidence of contamination, I will be purged." Elias took a step closer. "There must be another way." Liara gave a fragile smile, faint as moonlight on snow. "There's no mercy in purity, Elias, only preservation." He clenched his fists. "Then we won't let them take you." Her gaze rose to him, tired but tender. "You would defy an empire for me." "I already have," he said quietly. Something unspoken lingered between them. A fragile truth neither dared name. Liara turned away, her voice barely a whisper. "When I look at you, I feel something I cannot control. It frightens me." Elias exhaled, steady but low. "You don't have to fear that. It's just being alive." She closed her eyes. "We were never meant to be alive, Elias. We were meant to endure." The silence that followed was long and heavy. Outside, the wind howled across the crystal towers, scattering shards of light into the air. Then a sound, a deep, faint hum, echoed through the floor. Elias stiffened. "What is that?" Liara's eyes widened. "They've activated the scanners. The Council's neural drones, machines built to detect emotional corruption, were sweeping the palace. No thought could hide from their reach." Elias grabbed her hand. "We have to move." She hesitated. "If they find me gone, they'll assume you're meditating. Just trust me." For the first time in her life, the Queen of Zalara obeyed someone else's command. Elias led her through the hidden corridor behind her throne, a passage once used for wartime evacuation. The tunnels shimmered with faint energy, lined with ancient runes that whispered softly as they passed. Liara's glow dimmed further. "This path, it leads to the vault, doesn't it?" Elias nodded. "You told me once that Zelaran rulers stored their forbidden relics there. The ones tied to your ancestors' emotions," she frowned. "Those relics are dangerous. So is losing yourself," he said simply. When they reached the vault's entrance, a massive gate of obsidian crystal blocked their way. Liara lifted her hand. The markings on the door ignited at her touch. Slowly the gate opened, revealing a chamber bathed in amber light. In the center stood a pedestal. Upon it, a sphere of radiant gold pulsing softly like a heartbeat. "The heart of origin," Liara whispered. "The first essence of our kind." Elias stared at it, awed. "It's alive." "It is emotion itself," she said. "Pure, unfiltered, unbound. Our ancestors sealed it away to escape its chaos." Elias stepped closer, voice low. "Then maybe it's what you need to balance what's tearing you apart." Liara hesitated, fear flickering across her features. "If I touch it, it could consume me." He looked at her, steady and sincere. "Or it could save you. You said emotion is creation. Maybe it's time to create again." She stared at him for a long moment, then slowly reached out. Her fingers brushed the sphere. A wave of golden light exploded outward, throwing Elias to the ground. He shielded his eyes as warmth and fire and sound merged into one blinding surge. When the light faded, Liara was standing in the center of the room, changed. Her glow was brilliant, her aura fierce, yet her expression was one of pain. "It's inside me now," she whispered. "The heart and the shadow both." Elias rose, stunned. "Can you control it?" Liara looked down at her hands, trembling as golden veins of light spread beneath her skin. "I don't know, but I can feel everything. Every life on this world, every thought. It's overwhelming." Elias stepped closer, steadying her with his hands. "Then focus on one thing. Just one." She looked into his eyes. "You." For a moment, all chaos fell silent. The glow dimmed, the tremors stilled. But far above them, in the council tower, 1,000 sensors lit up red. The tribunal had detected an anomaly, a surge of forbidden energy radiating from beneath the palace. And before the hour was out, the Queen of Zilara would be declared corrupted. Elias didn't care. For the first time, he saw her not as a queen, nor an alien, but as someone fighting to be free. And he silently swore that even if the entire galaxy stood against her, he would not let her face it alone. The alarms began at dawn. A shrill wail echoed through the palace of Zilara as crimson light pulsed across its glass towers. The council had declared a state of containment. Their message was clear. Queen Liara was no longer fit to rule. The corridors trembled with marching guards and hovering drones. Every door sealed, every exit was watched. Yet deep beneath the palace, in the ancient vault where no law had reached, Liara and Elias hid in the glow of the relic that now pulsed within her veins. Her radiance was unsteady, flickering between light and shadow. Elias could feel it in the air, the hum of power that was both breathtaking and terrifying. Liara sat upon the stone floor, her eyes closed, breathing unevenly as the heart of origin fused within her. "They're coming for me," she said quietly, voice trembling. "I can feel the tribunal above, reaching into my mind." Elias knelt beside her, laying a hand gently on her shoulder. "Then don't let them in. I can't hold them off forever. The more I resist, the more the shadow pushes back. It's alive inside me now, Elias." He could hear the pain in her voice, could see the faint shimmer of tears that her kind was never meant to shed. "Then fight for yourself," he urged softly. "Not as their queen, as you." Her head turned, eyes half open, golden and dark at once. "You still think I can be saved?" "I know you can," he said, firm and low. "Because you still care. You still feel. That's what makes you worth saving." A moment of silence stretched between them, fragile, full of unspoken things. Then she exhaled slowly. "Elias, if I lose myself completely, promise me you'll leave. Don't stay to watch me become her." He shook his head. "You do the same for me." Her lips curved faintly. "You assume too much about my kindness." "I've seen it," he whispered. "In the way you hide your pain. In the way you fight your own people to protect them." Liara looked away, voice breaking softly. "You sound like my heart when I had one." Above them, the sound of descending engines rumbled, the tribunal's command ships lowering through the clouds. Elias rose, checking his weapon. He knew they wouldn't stand a chance against Zilaran firepower, but he also knew retreat wasn't an option. Liara struggled to her feet, the light around her flickering wildly. "Elias, you need to go. If they capture you, they'll use your mind against me." He stepped closer. "I'm not leaving." Something deep within her cracked, not from power, but from emotion. She reached out suddenly, clutching his hand, her voice trembling. "Why do you stay? Why do you fight for me when you have nothing to gain?" Elias met her gaze without hesitation. "Because when I look at you, I see proof that even the coldest heart can still learn to feel again." Liara's eyes glistened. For the first time in her long, unbroken life, she felt something entirely new, something that defied all her laws, all her people's order. Love. But it came too late. The vault doors above them shuddered violently as blasts of energy tore through the entrance. Crystalline dust fell from the ceiling. Elias grabbed his rifle, pulling her behind a broken pillar. "They've found us," he said. The heavy doors split open in a flash of blue fire, and a platoon of silver-armored guards stormed in, eyes cold, weapons raised. Behind them came Lord Vethor of the Tribunal, his voice echoing like iron. "Queen Liara of Zilara," he declared. "You are charged with corruption of mind and spirit. The Purity Code demands your dissolution." Liara stood, her aura blazing. "If purity means erasing the soul, then perhaps the code itself is the corruption." Vethor's expression hardened. "You speak like them, like humans." Elias stepped forward, weapon leveled. "Then maybe you should start listening to them." Before the guards could react, Liara's light exploded outward, a wave of blinding gold that flung them back like leaves in a storm. The relic's energy surged through her veins, crackling like fire and starlight. Her voice echoed through the vault, half queen, half storm. No more silence. The light shattered walls, sent drones spiraling, and turned the air into thunder. But Elias could see the cost. Every burst drained her, every pulse dimmed her glow. She was burning herself out. He ran toward her through the chaos, shouting above the roar. "Liara, stop. You'll destroy yourself." She turned to him, her face radiant with both agony and peace. If destruction means freedom, then maybe it's worth it. He reached her, gripping her shoulders. "Then let me share it. Don't carry it alone." For a heartbeat, the golden storm paused. Her breath trembled. "Elias." Then the heart inside her flared again, brighter than ever, flooding the vault with blinding light. When it faded, the guards were gone, disarmed or unconscious. The tribunal ship above the palace had retreated, and in the center of the vault stood Liara, her light dim but steady. Elias knelt beside her, his voice shaking. "You did it. You're still here." But her gaze was distant. "For now. The heart's energy is unstable. It will consume me soon if I cannot control it. Then we'll find a way," Elias said, grasping her hand. "Together." Her lips curved faintly.
Together?
The echo of that word lingered in the vault, soft and fragile. The first promise ever made between a queen who had forgotten how to feel and the human who taught her how to live again. The skies above Zilara burned gold, not with war, but with awakening. From the highest spire of the royal palace, light poured into the heavens like the pulse of a living sun. Across the empire, citizens lifted their eyes in awe. Some wept, some prayed, but none knew the truth, that their queen stood between life and oblivion, her heart no longer her own, deep within the vault, where the battle had ended and silence had finally fallen. Elias knelt beside Liara. Her glow flickered weakly, each breath shallow but steady. He could see the exhaustion written across her every motion. "You can rest now," he whispered. "It's over." She shook her head faintly. "No, not yet. The heart isn't done." He frowned, concern shadowing his face. "You said the energy would stabilize." "It hasn't," she murmured. "It's calling. It wants to merge completely." Elias leaned closer. "What happens if it does?" Liara's voice trembled. "I become something my people will never accept. Neither queen nor mortal, just emotion itself." He took her hand, gripping it firmly. "Then maybe that's what they need. A leader who feels." Her gaze softened, tired but luminous. "And what of you, Elias Ward? When they come for me again, what will become of the human who defied an empire?" He smiled faintly. "Then they'll have to face me too." She almost laughed, though her strength failed her. "You're a fool." "Maybe," he said softly. "But I'm your fool." A small silence passed between them, filled with the hum of the living heart glowing beneath her skin. And then, above them, the vault doors began to quake once more. Liara's head lifted. "They're coming again." "No," Elias said, rising. "That's not soldiers. That's—" He stopped. A deep resonance filled the air. Not footsteps, not engines. Something different. The light from the heart grew brighter, extending tendrils of gold through the ceiling. Outside, the people of Zilara gathered in the plazas as the light reached the clouds. And in that radiance, voices began to whisper, faint, ethereal, and familiar. Liara looked upward, tears of light gathering at the corners of her eyes. "They're here. My ancestors. The ones who sealed the heart. They're watching." Elias looked up too, though he saw only light. "What are they saying?" She closed her eyes, trembling. "They're asking me to choose." "Choose?" "Between them. And you." Her glow flared, golden veins burning across her hands. Images flickered around them. Memories of her people. Her childhood, her coronation, the war, and finally, Elias standing before her with that same stubborn defiance that had changed everything. Liara clutched her chest. "They say if I release the heart, my people will remain pure, cold, and eternal. But if I keep it, they will change. They'll feel. They'll suffer." Elias stepped closer, voice steady but full of emotion. "Then let them suffer, Liara. Because feeling pain means they'll also learn love. You taught me that when you spared my people." Her breathing faltered. "And if they can't forgive me, then history will," he said softly. "Because the first step to peace is never without scars." Liara looked at him, and for a long moment the queen vanished. And only a woman remained. One who had loved her world too much to watch it die, and loved one man enough to risk everything she had built. Her hand trembled as she touched his cheek. "Elias, if I do this, I might not survive." He took her hand in his, pressing it to his heart. "Then you'll live here." Her eyes shimmered, and the golden light surged around her once more. The heart's voice filled the chamber, not in sound, but in feeling. Do you choose to remain as queen, or to become as human? Liara whispered. I choose to be both. The vault exploded with light. Elias shielded his eyes as golden fire cascaded through the palace, sweeping across Zalara like dawn itself. Everywhere it touched, life changed. The emotionless calm of the Zalarans shattered, replaced by gasps of awe, by tears, by laughter. When the light faded, the queen was gone. Elias staggered forward. Liara, no answer. Only a faint glow lingered on the stone floor, and from it rose a whisper in his mind. Do not mourn me. The heart was never meant for one soul. Now it belongs to all. Tears blurred his vision as the voice faded. Around him, the walls of the vault pulsed gently with golden veins, alive, breathing, reborn. He stepped outside into the new light of Zalara. The city was different now, no longer silent, no longer perfect. He saw Zalarans embracing one another, some crying for the first time in their immortal lives. The air trembled with life, and high above, carved in the clouds, was a faint silhouette of her, Queen Liara, radiant and free. Elias looked up, his heart aching yet full. You did it, he whispered. You won. A warm wind brushed against his face, carrying a whisper only he could hear. No, Elias, we did. He smiled through the tears, raising his head to the new dawn. The war had ended long ago. But the real victory, the one that changed a world, had come from a single truth. Even in the coldest empire, a human heart can light the way, and though she was gone, her legacy burned on in every Zalaran tear, every fragile laugh, every heartbeat that dared to feel again.